Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pro Cooking Show. It's been an amazing time these last few months making amazing meals with all of you, and now we're making beef stroganoff. Now beef stroganoff is a quite delicious meal. It entails noodles and a sauce. And this sauce is a very complex sauce that will involve many ingredients and has many seasonings that I have here that we're going to mix up and put together. So we've got a nice ingredient bowl here with many exciting ingredients. We have we're going to be adding some cumin to it, onion powder, oregano leaves, and black pepper. And we're just going to mix it all together to begin our cooking process. So here comes the fun part, mixing the ingredients together to make our nice mixture that we're going to add to our sauce that we're going to prepare. We've got some lemon powder in here, we've got some thyme, we've got ingredients like that. We're just going to start by adding some nice ground cumin. Ground cumin we're going to add first. Now we just want to add 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. So we're going to get our nice little teaspoon here and a nice little ground cumin. We're just going to, do some nice measuring here. Next, we're going to add some nice oregano. So these are oregano leaves. We need 1/3 of a cup, so we're just going to, this thing right here is just about 1/3 of a cup, so we're going to put that in here. So we're going to sprinkle that in there. Stir it up, of course. And if you look at our bowl here, you're going to see it's a nice rainbow of brownish, greenish, dark brown colors. So now we need to add our black pepper, and we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of black pepper. So this is a tablespoon right here. We're going to be careful when we're measuring because we don't want to add too much. So there's 1 and 2 tablespoons of black pepper. We're already halfway done adding our ingredients. This is quite easy. Next, I want to talk to you about rosemary. It's this wonderful little small branchy type thing. We're going to be adding 2 of them. We're just going to kind of piece them up like this. Piece them off the little branch here. And just nicely take them off and add them. Rosemary is going to add a nice flavor to our sauce that's going to be quite delightful. So we've got rosemary. And this is where we're all just going to stir this together.
So thank you, Thomas, for letting me be a guest on your Pro Cooking Show. And as you have explained already to our audience, we are making beef stroganoff. And my task is to chop up the beef that's going to go into the crock pot. We're going to cook it very slowly for 10 hours with the various seasonings that Thomas is putting together, along with some flour and red wine and a few other liquids. And we'll let that cook. But a lot of people make beef stroganoff with hamburger. And indeed, I have some hamburger over there, but I also have some wonderful round cut beef here that I'm cutting into small pieces. And I intentionally bought this beef because it has lots of marble in it, lots of fat, and that'll cook down in a slow cooker, very tender, and will keep the meat nice and moist. And it goes really nice, very flavorful stuff for beef stroganoff. So I'm cutting it into rather large chunks now, with keeping the fat on it. As it cooks down later on, I'll cut it into smaller, more edible pieces. So yes, that's my task, is cutting meat. And when we come back together, you will see what a big pile of meat that's been cut up looks like. And notice I'm keeping my fingers like this and the knife up against it so that I do not slice my fingers and add more food to more fresh meat to the meat that's here already. And you'll also notice that my hands are clean and everything around here has been cleaned. The meat has already been washed. Handling meat is a very everything needs to be clean and sterile appropriately.
So lastly, I'm just going to pour in our second teaspoon of onion powder, mix it in with those pieces of rosemary, and we are all set with our powder. And this powder is going to be added to a sauce, and that's going to go very nicely. We have steak sauce, we have a nice wine, we've got Worcestershire sauce, we've got some nice cooking stock from beef. Let's think about each one of these ingredients here. This is a wine. It's got alcohol in it. This steak sauce. Ooh, the steak sauce. It's got raisins. It's got nice raisin paste. It's got it has orange. It has orange peels in it. Has wonderful fruity things into it. And that fruitiness is going to complement the Worcestershire sauce, because the Worcestershire sauce is a very salty liquid. Worcestershire sauce has salt, it has water, vinegar. Vinegar is an acid, and because we're making beef stroganoff, the key word in beef stroganoff is beef. Beef is a meat, and when you're eating beef, you want to be able to easily eat it. The vinegar in this Worcestershire sauce is going to make that easier, because vinegar is an acid. It breaks down things. So we want to add the right amount of Worcestershire sauce. One cup and a half of wonderful Worcestershire sauce. We have to add a full cup of steak sauce. So let's just take our measuring cup out. You can see it. It's got to fill up halfway. Make a full cup. Really have to encourage it to come out, because it's very much more goopy than some of the other things. There we go. That's simple. I wish I had something I could stir this with. We're going to stir that up before we finish adding some of our other ingredients. So we're just going to kind of whisk all these things together. Steak sauce and the Worcestershire sauce. Beef stock, let's get to that. So the beef stock, very simple. It just adds a certain flavor to our sauce. Can you guess what flavor it adds? Beef stock. So we're going to add a cup of beef stock. So again, our measuring utility here, 1 cup. Just going to pour it in there, all the way up to 1 cup. And then we're just going to add it in. Now we're going to pretend that we didn't stain this nice white cloth here. This wine, well, it's made up of three types of wine. It has a Merlot wine, and it's got a nice Merlot wine. It's got this other strange, I don't know if you can even read it, but some other strange wine out there. And it also has the, again, another strange wine that I can't pronounce. So we're just going to add 2 cups to this. Now the reason why this wine is so interesting is because it's got these 3 different types of wines in there. So it's not one flavor by itself. Kind of adds a more unique flavor to our mixture. It's got 3 of them in here.
So here we have the meat that we had cut up, and Tom's put together the dry spices, the rub. What I did is I put the meat in here, and I used the dry rub, and I mixed it in with the meat. You'll also notice that I do have some ground hamburger here on top of the meat. That's to add even more marble, more fat to the food. The beef had, as I showed you earlier, it did have some marbleization in it. It had some white in it, and that's going to keep the meat moist. But I want to add more fat to that. I can always drain it off later, but for cooking purposes, I want that in here. So I want to show you this. When we do our vegetables, when we do chop up our vegetables, we'll add that to this crock pot. So then the vegetables and the meat will be in here all together. And then after about a couple of hours of it cooking, then we will add the mixture that Thomas put together. We'll pour that on top and let it cook for another 8 hours. And that's beef stroganoff.
So one of the last things we have to do, now that we have our wet mixture almost completed, kind of completed, is we have to actually add a dry ingredient to our wet mixture. That is flour. So the flour, what we'll do is it will thicken. We'll thicken our nice wet mixture here. Most of these wet mixtures here are thin, so we have to add flour to thicken it up. We're going to add six whole cups of flour by simply scooping them and placing them in. Makes 3. That makes 4. That makes 5. This is the one job where basic math comes in handy. Just basic counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm lucky I didn't lose track. So that's 6. Awesome. So now we're just going to mix that together. It's going to complete this entire mixture. We're not going to have to do anything with this mixture itself. However, we're going to do some other interesting things with it when we have to combine it with all the other elements of our meal. Now let's back up a little bit. What are we making? We're making beef stroganoff. So there are many parts of it. So this is just one part of it, but there are 3 other parts to it. Maybe 4, but maybe 2. It's hard to categorize it, but this is just one section of it. So even though this doesn't look like beef stroganoff, it will be at one point in time in the future. Beef stroganoff.
So while Thomas was putting together both the dry rub and the liquids, he was mixing those together. I was over here working. We cut up our beef, and I'm now working with the vegetables. We're going to add to our beef stroganoff peppers, some celery, and some onions. I have 2 here, and I'm going to get lazy. I don't want to cut all of them. I'll be here all night long cutting. So I'm going to use my wonderful Ninja. I love my Ninja. I got it for Christmas. I put the stuff in here, press it down, it chops it up. It's very simple. The only thing I don't want to use the Ninja on is my celery, because I actually want my celery to be in big chunks in the crock pot that'll cook and it'll break down. If I chop it up with the chopper here, it'll make it too fine, and then it becomes like a mush. And I don't want mush. I actually want pieces of celery. Whereas the onion and the pepper, if it gets a little bit fine, that's okay. It cooks down, reduces, adds more flavor. That's okay. So I'm cutting up the vegetables. We're gonna add some peppers, some yellow peppers and orange peppers, some red onions, and we have the celery. All that will go in the crock pot with the beef and the dry rub, and we'll pour over that the mixture that Thomas put together, and then we'll cook it for a good 10 hours on low. and it's going to cook all night long, and it'll be just delicious. And we'll see what, and then tomorrow we'll come back together and see how we put together our final touches on the beef stroganoff.